Am I the a-hole for leaving my wife after she tried making my son eat food he didn't want?
He's an enabler.
Yes, and an a-hole. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another week of the Powered by Piedmontese podcast. And got you here again, Joe. Not even paying you.
Barely, because I'm out the rest of the week.
Oh, that's right. Where are you going?
I'm headed for work travel out to the West Coast in sunny San Diego.
Oh, that's right. Working on a new supplement line.
Perhaps.
Is that a secret that no one's supposed to be knowing about yet?
I don't know. Is it?
We'll find out. But it's also going to interrupt your training.
Yes, that half marathon's not going to run itself. And what is it, like week after next?
We got 2 weeks left. For our listeners that don't know, we have a half marathon coming up. And if you check us on the camera, it's not like we're totally unhealthy, but we're not necessarily, we don't look like runners.
We're not runners.
No, we lumber along.
And my goal, I've never run. I think the furthest I've ever run in my life, like in a race setting, has been a 5K.
Yeah.
So I'm making that scary jump from a 5K to a half marathon. I hope I just finish.
That's the goal for everybody. And you'll see, I've done them before, but as you do this race, you'll see yourself you get inspired by other runners. You'll get inspired by even the volunteer people who are just cheering you on the side of the road. But you'll get passed by people, you're like, how on earth are they passing me?
Yeah, I'm just hoping that I can find solace in the lack of me becoming one with the earth.
I think you'll survive. But then again, I have seen people just look like they pass out on the side of the road.
What's it called? Bonking? Yeah, I hope that's not me.
Their eyes roll up into their head. Their arms sometimes flail in the air. Like I don't know what's going on here, but I need to keep running. I'm trying to shoot for my PR here.
Really psyching me up. I'm looking forward to this thing.
You'll survive. You're powered with the best meat and nutrition on the earth. I think you'll be okay.
I'm going to try not to carb load either. I think that's overrated. I'm going to be full on powered by Piedmontese for this bad boy.
Usually on every race, I have pizza the night before.
Oh.
You know?
Maybe I'll just home make a pizza with certified Piedmontese ground beef.
Oh, there you go. Tying in the product. How wonderful. Are we ready to jump into today's stories?
Let's do it.
So last week we flew blind, had no idea what type of stories. Sometimes I find them more challenging to read because, these people's grammar is awful. I don't always do a great job reading. I speak too fast.
The second one last week, because when we were done off air, I kind of, ribbed you a little bit for taking forever to read that one. But yeah, that guy did not make a single complete sentence.
So I read through these just a little bit. So I was aware of what they were going for. So I found another story, surprisingly enough, or not surprisingly enough, there's a vegan in this one.
Perfect.
So I know you love them.
Yeah.
They're part of this world, so you still got to deal with them.
And we talk about them a lot.
Yes. So here we go. Am I the a-hole? Oh, this is extremely well engaged, by the way.
Okay.
Take that for what you will. Am I the a-hole for forcing my vegan daughter to cook meat? My daughter, 16 female, has been a vegan for about a year. Me, my husband, and her brother, 14 male, have tried to be as supportive as possible. We are in a family that eats meats daily, so that wasn't that hard to accommodate her. Now, when I do cook meat, I also make something else for her and keep the side dishes common for all. She does have some separate dishes, but most are common, and I clean it if I have to cook for her as well. A few months into the vegan lifestyle, she tried to convince us to go vegan and would get increasingly angry when we said no.
It's problem number one with vegans.
Well, also a classic teenager.
Yeah.
So here we go. Me and my husband shut down that behavior. Oh, she spelled behavior wild. She must be British or something.
Behavior?
Yeah, there we go. Hardin told her that she can follow whatever diet she wanted, but she cannot expect others to. She sulked for a while, but stopped doing that. Now here comes the story. Now last weekend I cooked the family a big pot of chili and a small vegan one and a large beef one so that I can refrigerate it and use it for the next week. The next day, I found the fridge empty of both the chili, and it turns out my daughter decided that we were being too callous about meat. She felt that the smell was too much, that when she opened the fridge door, and that she can't eat anything from the fridge after that without gagging or puking. She told me that I need to throw out all the vegan food in the fridge and restock them. Like, yikes. Okay, back off, huh? Now, me and my husband were livid, rightly so. Wasting food is never okay with us, and there was a lot of food. Now, I told her I'm going to continue using the vegan products in the fridge, and she can either eat it or not, but I am not wasting food. That whole week, she kept making faces at dinner while she ate. As a punishment, I gave her the recipe and told her she needs to buy them and cook it next weekend. She yelled and begged, but I stood firm. In the end, she did it. When she finished the cooking, I told her that wasting food is never okay in this house and pointed out that instead of X amount of meat being used, 2 times the amount of meat, since this seems to be confusing. Okay, this must be a post-edit. She used twice the amount of meat because she had to recook the dish again. Now she started crying and yelling at me about how awful and disgusting I was because not only did I force her to buy the meat, which she is very much against, I also forced her to cook it, and now I'm also telling her that it was her fault. She is extremely upset. Now my husband and brother think that what I did was right, while my parents think I was in the wrong. So I'll put it to a vote. Am I the a-hole?
And this is the daughter.
The mom.
Okay, yeah. No, sorry. That was confusing at the end. But no, that's just called good parenting. Mm-hmm. Because, number one, a 16-year-old shouldn't be driving the boat in terms of what everyone else in the household should be eating.
Mm-hmm. Well, is she working? Is she paying for any of this food?
And and if she's throwing away food that was freshly made, the night before, vegan and non-vegan, throwing it away just because it was gross and I was gagging at the fridge, like, does she have a car? I wonder if this 16-year-old has a car, because there's a lot of animal byproducts that go into, things that roll around the roads.
At 16, how educated can you truly be about any diet? I mean, really, this is where your education from your parents, your family, heck, even teachers, or I hate to say classmates. I'm guessing if she's in school, she's got another clique of people that also are vegan.
There's got to definitely be outside influence here, because you don't just wake up tomorrow and be like, you know what, I'm going to be vegan.
Yes, from everything I've read, it is a slow transition, because they understand how hard it is to be vegan. So to say that I'm vegan now, you likely were vegetarian prior.
Or you've got to be polluted to the point where it's like, oh man, those animals and everything and blah, blah, blah. There's so much suffering, and I want to do my part. But yeah, it's a gradual, steep incline to get to that. But like we've always said, that's so not sustainable.
I'm battling right now with my 4-year-old daughter at home. She's not a vegan.
Is she throwing away food in the...
She just doesn't eat it.
Oh. At least she's not throwing it away from the refrigerator.
Well, but we end up kind of, because she pushes the plate around, doesn't eat anything, and then says she's not hungry, and then 20 minutes later wants a snack. Classic 4-year-old behavior.
Has snack after dinner ever been what was for dinner?
Oh, you're welcome to try it someday, but that's not how that works. So I can't really quite say this is the same. You're dealing with a more sentient person at this point. Let her have her opinions. I agree that the family can support her daughter and her choice in diet. If my kids one day said, I think I'd like to try veganism, we would have a very big conversation beforehand about what that means. So I assume this parents had this conversation before this point. You don't rightly so.
Yeah, because you want them to have a certain level of their own expressionism and pave their own path. But at the same time, like, when you start taking food out and throwing it away because just the sight of all this chili, vegan and non-vegan chili in the fridge makes you want to vomit like that.
Actually, as you went through that, as I was saying, I take that back. I don't think I would support my daughter choosing to be vegan. I'm not going to accommodate that in my house, because I strongly believe so much the other way. I'm the one paying, cooking for it, cleaning it up.
Yeah.
You can do something on your own, but get a job, get a car to go do those things. Because in my house, I want you nourished with the right things.
And that's how I was brought up. It was like, hey, what's for dinner is what's for dinner. If you don't want to eat it, then,
you're going hungry.
Go hungry or make something yourself.
Yeah. Again, I use it on my kids. It only works on one of them.
Yep. And you can only have so many PB&Js.
But as a vote, like, what she did was not right. I would be furious.
Yeah. The mom is not the a-hole here. Not even close.
No, but to force someone who knowingly doesn't want to eat meat, cook meat, buy meat, that does seem a little extreme. So and one, who's to say that she's even good at cooking chili anyway? That could have been a hot pot mess of stuff.
Yeah, but that's also a very non-obtrusive way to parent as well. Like, what harm is going to come from that? It's more of a lesson than it is a punishment.
But in this case here, fine, go out and buy the stuff. I can appreciate that. Go buy me the ingredients. But again, I'm not going to trust my 16-year-old kid to cook for the whole family. What if she's got awful cooking skills?
Or what if she sabotages it?
Yeah, she might poison your ass. I mean, if she's that upset about doing this, she's like, "Oh, I'm going to get you, Mom."
Yeah, extra ground beef in here, but I also put rat poison in it.
Yeah, I'm not trusting this lady who's clearly now vengeful to cook a meal for me. And I think that's the mistake that she's not looking at.
I'd be more afraid of that for sure than just making my kid do that.
So buy the stuff, bring it back. I'm going to vet the ingredients, but I'm going to make it myself. You just get the heck out of my face.
Or would you make her taste as she went?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to watch you eat this first.
Taste as you go, chef.
But then once the meat goes in there, she's not going to do it. But you know, right? Is she going to spoil the meat before it goes in?
Let it sit on the dashboard on the ride home.
I mean, really, the only edit she had was correcting one of her sentences in here. So there's nothing else.
No, I don't think she was an a-hole at all. I matter of fact, good parenting.
Yeah, but after this conversation, these parents might be dead now. So
rat poisoned?
I tell you, so I mean, there's a risk, and that's why we talk about all the time in this is communication. Why the veganism? What about it? Because again, if this is in England somewhere, based purely on, or maybe it's Canada or some sort of Commonwealth country, I have to assume. A lot of those folks have grass-finished animals, nice way of life. Like they're somewhat off the large, big beef industry out there. So there's better storytelling to find, but like have a better conversation with your 16-year-old.
Yeah.
You don't need to be vegan at 16.
Educate.
Yes. And just talk.
Yes.
And if these parents are good salesmen, they should be able to sell them out of this idea.
For sure. And these people, the daughter's probably not even vegan anymore.
You're right. That story was from 4 years ago. So you're right. Probably not anymore. She's made wiser choices.
Yes.
This is assuming her family's still alive.
She grew up.
Allegedly. Who knows?
Got some sense to her.
Who knows? Veganism does a lot of wild things to people. So we can only hope to know. Let's put that one comfortably to bed.
Okay.
We both voted not the
a-hole.
And hopefully alive.
Yes.
Okay. Next story. 2 years ago. Am I the a-hole for leaving my wife after she tried making my son eat food he didn't want? Yeah. Now,
how old is the kid?
Okay, let's just get into it. It actually explains this immediately.
Okay.
Our son, 10, male, like how do I have to clarify that? Well, I guess in today's world, you probably should, is a very picky eater. There are a few foods that he loves to eat, such as pizza, chicken, steak, and pasta. Yeah, steak made a presence there. Now, he is working with someone that is helping him try new foods. My wife, 41, wishes that he wasn't picky, but I, 42, don't see any problems with it. There have been concerns in the past from family members that my son was underweight. My son is at a good weight, according to his doctor. Now, we went into my in-laws' house for a St. Patty's party. Ooh, nice. And I brought a small dish of mac and cheese for my son to have for dinner, as he wouldn't want to have the corned beef. Now, I noticed my wife and her mother looking at my son and having a private conversation. When it was time for dinner, I put my son's meal on his plate, and my wife grabbed the plate. She threw the food into the trash and put some corned beef and cabbage on his plate. My son starts to get upset and pushes the plate away. I looked at my wife and say, "Are you serious?" Now, he didn't want any of the corned beef. That's why I brought the mac and cheese. Now, she looks back at me with a smile and says, "Well, he needs to try new things, and he might like the corned beef." My son whispers to me that he felt sick and just wanted to go home. I told my wife that we were leaving and I would see her at home. Now, her sister dropped her off at the house, and she came storming inside, screaming at me that I'm the one at fault for not wanting my son to try new foods. We aren't speaking to each other right now, and I have received unpleasant texts from her family. So am I the a-hole for leaving my wife after she tried to make my son eat food he didn't want?
Situationally, I think he overreacted in listening to a 10-year-old saying, I'm feel sick. I want to go home. Mm-hmm. Because then once he goes home, he's going to get his dad to do whatever he wants for him. He knows that, it's
mac and cheese, snacks, pizza.
It's a game.
It's manipulation.
Yes. Especially in the formative years as a 10-year-old, like, what can I get away with here?
And it's hard to bring like kids into both of these stories, but as soon as 4 years old, these people are masters of manipulation. I don't want this. No, they're probably fine with it. They just really want fruit snacks.
Or if the classic dad says no, so I'm going to go ask mom.
And in fairness to the dad here, I mean, I probably would have loved the corned beef as a kid. I mean, who doesn't like, again, braised meats?
Yeah, but 10 years old, corned beef and cabbage, no 10-year-old's going to eat cabbage.
No.
But
heck, I barely ate it until like 2 years ago.
Well, and like honestly, like as a staunch Irishman, I eat my corned beef with like horseradish, just to kind of pizzazz it up a little bit.
Dress it up.
Yeah.
Now, recently, when I became more into food, I do like cabbage now.
Mm-hmm.
Braised red cabbage can be exquisite with a nice piece of meat. But you're right. At 10, I don't want to eat it.
No.
I mean, heck, like again, at 30 years old, I wouldn't want to eat it. But the corned beef, like, again, that's good protein at that point. So, like, yes, take a brave bite, kid, first before you say that. I don't even want to even look at it.
Well, this kid, though, too, is probably one of those that's like he sees a speck of pepper on his food and he's probably like, I don't want it. It's too spicy.
Our kids say the same thing. I don't want that speck of green.
Yeah. I don't want anything on there that I don't know what it is.
So there's a challenge anyway when you're dealing with young kids wanting to eat. At 10 years old, again, they should be no more. It's not like you're dealing with a 6-year-old.
True. But also I think you could flip that script on them a little bit too and start eating that corned beef and cabbage and just rolling your eyes back. Yes. Like, this is the best food I've ever had. Like, you don't want this, Johnny? You're missing out.
And to me, yes, give the kid a chance to eat it first, because if he doesn't and pushes that away, it saves me a trip from the kitchen for seconds. No problem, buddy. I'll eat it. But you're right. I mean, to be the parent right away and be like, oh my God, this is dynamite. You're gonna absolutely love this. Or in case corned beef and mac and cheese, I mean, that sounds amazing. Put the mac and cheese on the same damn plate.
Yeah, or dice up the corned beef and mix it into the mac and cheese.
Kids don't like that, though.
Well,
it's funny enough. You put hot dogs in it, but yeah, you put a premium meat in there.
I'm out.
Yeah, it's quite frustrating. But this dad waved the flag too soon. Now he mentions
he threw in the towel too soon.
He didn't even step foot in the game.
No, he was like, "Oh, you don't feel good? All right, we're out of here."
My doctor said the kid's at good weight. And I'm not no shade against doctors, but like everything's a little bit different here. But like, if this kid is just a stick and bones from eating mac and cheese and fruit snacks, like the doctor could be wrong.
Yeah. I mean, how old is that proverbial, bell curve or the percentile system where you go and like the first 3 visits, every kid is on like the 99th percentile and then they go back again and they're in like the 40th and you're like, well, what changed in 12 weeks?
Yeah. I mean, these parenting, obviously the fact that the mom and grandma, it looks like here, were snickering. You got like 2 separate relationships. Like you can tell there's already a divide between this married couple.
Well, and that's tough to see, like the wife grab the plate and throw it away.
The wife didn't.
I thought so. The mother of the child threw the mac and cheese away.
Oh, yeah.
And said, "You're not going to eat that. You're going to eat what everyone else is having." So that right there, the kid's going to even put up an even taller veil.
Yeah, she threw the food into the trash. Oh my goodness, I read right over that.
I heard it.
So, and then to get home, essentially kicks the door down, come in, head steaming, screaming.
I was really hoping you were going to say that she was texting her husband in the same house. They weren't speaking, but she was sending
at least texting.
Scathing text messages.
So knowing that he storms out of this family St. Patty's party, did he have a few drinks beforehand? And maybe a few drinks here fueled a lot of these emotions.
Green beers, Irish car bombs.
Yeah, it didn't say that. Maybe they did 6 car bombs beforehand, and now no one's gonna be thinking clearly. And you let emotions drive this home. This guy probably swerved home, played ping pong down the streets. His kid's in bed. Maybe he ate, and now you're waiting for your wife to come home after this. Like, I'm scared to death because when she comes in, it's not going to be like, "I'm so sorry that our exchange happened that way." Knowing that this is how it's already, like when she comes in, he should be scared.
So here's a pretty bold take on this, but what if the husband just says, after she throws the mac and cheese away, he just says, "Screw it. I'm just, okay, like little Johnny, whatever you want to eat, like go ahead and eat it, but you got to eat something. And I'm just going to sit here and enjoy my time. And thanks for the ride home, babe."
Like I said, there was better ways to handle it. But to me, the fact that these parents were so much on this separate page, there's a lot of problems going on underneath the surface here.
What was the common denominator in the last one? communication.
It's a common denominator in almost every story we read.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that I have the most perfect marriage in the world, but on instances like this, me and my wife are on the same page.
Right.
And so if our kid's not eating something, we're both like, you're going to eat it or you're getting nothing.
And you're not getting snack in 20 minutes.
Yes.
We don't play that game.
And so lately I've just like, if you're not going to eat this, go to your room.
Oh.
It might be a little too extreme. But like, you don't want them to just go be rewarded and go watch TV. Like, no, I don't want to go. Like, well, then you better start eating.
Yep.
I mean, dinner time sometimes can be stressful because you're teaching these kids how to be regular people.
Functioning members of society.
Yes. In many of my cases, eating delicious foods. I just ate this. I know it's delicious. It's not spicy. It's great.
What a unique time, too, because, hang on, kids. Phone eats first, and then we're going to devour this.
Yes, I need to get my Instagram photos in quickly, but the kids can appreciate that.
And if they don't now, they will learn to do so very soon.
Yeah, when they're in college and thumbing through my old reels to learn how to cook better for themselves.
Who knows? They might be surfing Pinterest and see your own recipe.
But the voting results on this are interesting. This guy was not voted the a-hole. And I agree that I don't agree. I'm suggesting that both mom and dad are the a-holes.
Yeah, I would say dad's not an a-hole. He
stormed out of the thing with his kid, basically kidnapped his kid away from this party.
He's an enabler.
You can be both. They're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think he's not as much of an a-hole because he wanted to go to this family function, brought, reinforcements with food that the kid would eat.
Again, already planning on it. Now, maybe the menu is shared ahead of time.
But also to just not make a big deal out of it. It's like, you know what? Little Johnny is a picky eater, so he's just going to eat that. Like, no stink about it.
We tell whatever. Like, I tried to get him. He wouldn't eat it.
But the wife made the stink about it because she went. So those two in this situation, yes, are the a-hole for the lack of communication.
And the overreaction.
But the dad is the enabler in this whole situation because then he listened to a 10-year-old say, I don't feel good. I want to go home. And then he's like, well, maybe he's got a strained relationship with his in-laws.
Oh, clearly. They're already texting him awful things.
Because he's looking for any out he can get, and he's the heck out of there.
The vocabulary he uses says that he's receiving unpleasant texts from her family. So I would love to see what these texts say. I mean, are they really going after him, sending nasty things?
Yeah, what would you say in that? Like, lose my number, punk.
Yeah, I don't need you in my life. Oh, and by the way, your corned beef was awful.
Yeah, I didn't even want to eat that.
I took 6 of your car bombs and stole a bottle of Jameson, too. What are you going to do about that?
Thanks for that caramel deliciousness.
But again, in this case, too, I can only assume alcohol played a pretty aggressive role in this storytelling. I hope it does. Because we love St. Patty's Day. You're half Irish, it seems. So I know you love it. It's always been a great day for me because I love everything about the Guinness, the green beers. It's a good day. It's a good time.
My last name is Finnegan. I cannot not love the holiday. Mm-hmm. I live for it.
So we could recreate this story, invite you over for some corned beef at my house, and I'll let you watch my kids not eat it.
Yes.
And then I'll kick you out of the house. But yeah.
Sound good.
Liked it. A couple kids in these stories. So we can put those to bed knowing that we actually addressed some of the youth that's in the beef world these days. And it's not always married couples and old folks. Largely, kids are just as much involved in the beef society as anyone else.
And honestly, I love that little Johnny liked steak, just not so much on the corned beef. So he's still all right.
Yeah, that's a good point. The third story. We've introduced new threads a lot on our third story, and this one's a piece of cake. But it's a good educational piece of cake for folks. This one, the thread is You Should Know. Member community, 5.2 million members. Okay. You should know that the juice from rare and medium cooked steaks is not blood. It is myoglobin. We hear this.
The tale is old as time.
Yes. It comes up more often than it should.
There's blood all over my fridge. What?
Yep. In most cases, when someone like a consumer comes to us, it's because there's blood in the cooler, or they thawed a steak out and now there's blood in the fridge. Someone was murdered in my shipping box.
And it's a mess, and now I have to clean it up, and it's your fault.
Yeah. There's just blood everywhere. I don't want to deal with it. First, in customer service, we try and cool that situation down right away. And I'm always, and even if they're nice about it, just there's just blood everywhere. I had to clean it up. Like, well, just, to put your mind at ease, like it is not blood. I come out right away and say it. Mm-hmm. And so many of the times, like, well, I don't care what it is. It's disgusting.
It's red liquid.
So at what point do you, before I get to how I'm going to address you as a customer and take care of you, like, again, we're going to do that. Like, don't worry, ma'am. Like, so we'll get you, we're going to want you to have a good experience, but let me briefly give you a quick TED talk.
Mm-hmm.
So, Joe, what is myoglobin in layman's terms?
It is a soluble protein structure in animal meat or muscles that seems to escape or, permeate from muscles.
Yes, and it's really a protein substance that it's what gives meat its color. So when you have dark meat in poultry, for example, it's because there's an increase in the, whatever they call the reds. I don't know what it's called.
Like dark cutters?
No, I'm just the difference between dark meat and white meat and chicken. Yeah. It's just the amount of myoglobin that's carried throughout that meat. There are no veins. There's some veins in some steak, but these veins aren't pumping blood. The animal's gone. Okay. That's a little rough. That's what turns people into vegans. But this animal's gone now, and its meat remains. There's no more heart pumping blood through the meat. What you're seeing in there, like I said, is just the myoglobin that gives it its red color, and there's actually protein in there. And so when it, into the package, yes, some of that leaks away, and then you'll get some more darker oxidizing meat, but there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with myoglobin, especially on a steak that you cook medium rare, and let's say you cut into it right away and a lot of it leaks out. Again, not blood. I guess it's not appealing sometimes. Like, you don't want that running into your mashed potatoes, but like, it is far from blood. It's just part of the steak juice.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's moisture in the meat. So like you want that there, and the easiest way to not see it on your plate is to either cook your steak longer or let your steak completely rest.
Yeah. So you get a void of all that when you go to well done. There's no juice at all.
Right. But if you're looking for that medium rare, like, you're going to need to let that steak, rest for a good 5 to 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. That way it can fully reconstitute and reabsorb in the muscle structures closer to the edge.
Yeah. And like, even if you had a steak that comes to your house, and like in the package, there might be a little, what we refer to it as purge. And some of that, like, you cut away and that just goes down in the sink or in the trash. There's no loss in performance really at that point either.
No.
Ideally, yeah, it would stay in there, but like, you're not really sacrificing much. Like, if you still cook the steak well, it's still going to be great and perform well for you. So we got ahead of our story a bit. So I'll let the author kind of finish his you should know here. Now, why you should know. There is a misconception that steaks cooked less than well done are bloody. I've heard people say, I don't want any blood, it's still mooing. Well, the good news is that the juices are not blood, they are different. I'm not a biologist or anything, but it's my understanding that blood carries oxygen to the muscles, where hemoglobin is where it's stored. The blood was drained out of the animal long before it hit the grocery store or restaurant. It's perfectly fine if you prefer steaks well done, that's your prerogative. If you prefer the texture, flavor, etc., go right ahead. However, if your reason for not eating or at least trying a medium rare steak is that you don't want to eat blood, then rest assured you won't be. Nice for this guy.
That's fair. And good education. More people need to hear this, and hopefully it was well engaged with.
Yeah. There's 10,000 different engagements, so 500 plus comments. One of the top comment here is talking about the iron content. So like, people might misconstrue myoglobin because maybe it has some metallic flavorings in there, but who's like just tasting the steak purge runoff? No one. But
you also think that, how many vitamins and minerals and other nutrients are present in red meat? They got to come from somewhere.
Yeah, but like I said, that's what myoglobin is. It's a comprehensive thing of all those things. And so There's no concern of blood. But again, it'd be nice if it wasn't so red. But again, that's the appealing part of eating red meat in the first place.
That's right. I have just a question for you. It's not off Reddit, but it's actually a real story. We had somebody call in, and I visited with this person.
Well, we got to hurry because we only got a couple minutes.
Okay, real quick. This guy's calling in, and he goes like, I don't know what to do because this guy makes disgusting food, but he keeps inviting me over for dinner. It's his neighbor. Kids are like the same age, so they always do, dinner parties and hangouts. Well, whenever he goes over to his house, the guy only makes burgers all the time.
The guy who makes disgusting food?
Yes, because when he grills his hamburgers, he's insistent on always putting foil over the grilling surface to then put his ground beef on top of the foil because cleanup is such a breeze on his outdoor propane gas grill.
It's hate the a-hole.
Well, but like the guy called and he's like, I'm just going to stop going over there for dinner, but I hope it doesn't strain like our relationship or the kids' relationship because the food is disgusting.
So I do think like Reynolds makes like grill covers that's supposed to help, yes, with the cleanup. I would be concerned because tinfoil can tear away pretty easily. I'd be concerned about some of that getting into the meat and then you're eating tinfoil. And people with fillings, yeah, watch out. But like, yeah, there's just no need for it.
I mean, it's a grill's made for that, right?
Yes. And like the temperatures of what you're grilling at also prevent, yes, you might get some charcoal buildup. Yes, they could say, oh, all bad carcinogens and that's going to give you cancer. But
no, it's solely just from cleanup.
Yeah, that's laziness.
Yeah.
And you're missing out on the flavor profile. And plus, I don't think the heat sears the same way. So he talked about his food being awful. Well, if you've just gave up trying to keep things so neat and tidy, you could have better flavorful food.
Yeah. And I basically told him it's okay if you just quit eating at his house. Still be friends with him. Maybe bring your own food. But...
Oh, this is a call-in from a customer?
Yeah.
They immediately start oversharing, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
We have the best customers.
Love them. And I love these conversations because it brings more fuel to our fire.
Well, let's reward these good customers. If you shop on cpbeef.com, you can use code... Oh, wait, I jumped ahead. Use code, PBP26 and get 26% off all your beef purchase.
And in addition to PBP26, if you want to go ahead and use the code in response, I think this week we'll go ahead and go with, let's up the ante. Let's go 4 8-ounce sirloin fillets.
Ooh, the sirloin fillets are nice because it gives you that fillet presentation like filet mignon. So great for the upcoming holidays.
And they are so divine, sublime.
Well, what a treat.
So use code in response in addition to code PBP26 at checkout, and you'll get 26% off your entire order, as well as 4 complimentary 8-ounce sirloin steaks.
Just giving it away. We'll see you next week.